Well, welcome everybody. This is Domain Name Law. We're here every Tuesday, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. What I mean is we broadcast every Tuesday, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. We were on Clubhouse for 3 years. We went over to Spaces for a couple months. Now our first show back on Clubhouse. We'll see what we like. I mean, hopefully audio's better. Everything is better. There's three co-hosts here, me, David, Michaels, and Jeff Neuman. I want to welcome my co-host, and I can't wait to say, hey, David, how's the audio? What's going on with you today?
Well, the audio is great, and it's a beautiful sunny day. So, yeah, I'm happy.
Oh, no, you sound okay too. Is everything good so far? Well, Jeff, so we're back. Was it easy to find? Did you have to come back and go down some old roads, or everything okay? What's up?
Yeah, I found it okay. I'm disappointed that Spaces didn't work out. I think we because it is much more utilized than Clubhouse, so we'll have to figure out how to get back there.
Yeah, it's not over. We did that. This was a fun thing for our Clubhouse friends and for David. Because I will say this, it is better audio here because even there was a gentleman who runs Spaces who was taking notes from some big, I guess somebody had a big room, thousands of people on a Saturday night, this past Saturday night. And the people were like, yeah, just too many glitches. It's just too much. Well, us, it's hit or, we have a certain number of people. Most of the people probably listen to when we see that audience number. That's mostly bots, probably. I have no idea. But I agree. It's just more in stride. People are over there. When I see a tweet, um, anyway, if I saw a tweet, hey, you're doing a show, I'll click in and I stop in a lot of shows over there. The audio seems okay at some points, but yeah, there has been a lot of glitches. So we just back over here and we'll decide week by week for right now. But I mean, it's like, if anybody really wants to hear domain name law, they can always catch your Twitter, Jeff, David's Twitter, or my Twitter and know, hey, we're going to be talking about domain, some UDRP cases this week. You guys want to catch up with us, even if we do it on Zoom. But uh, at least so far, so just these two Clubhouse spaces, this should be pretty smooth today. It is being
Well, Todd, you don't
recorded.
want to do YouTube, right? You could do
Well, no,
that.
I'm thinking that's what YouTube is pretty simple with a. But did you want to go on, be on video? We're mostly at our desks anyway. But I
I don't
mean,
mind. Yeah,
YouTube, I feel like
I don't
them.
mind. I
You
think it's good to see you guys and see others if we could.
well, what we could do is, they got the Zoom slash is YouTube, so we'll talk about that. But David, is that what you were thinking too?
Yeah, that's probably the best reach and the best solution.
Okay, well,
I
you
mean,
guys
you
just
might not be able to smoke on camera, but hey.
I'm not worried about that smoke on camera. I could if I wanted anyway, but yeah, I'm not worried about that. Yeah, the distribution. Well, all right, then I guess yeah. You like if I do it, you guys do it. Well, David, we talked about this. We'll do some testing this week. All right, anybody want to check out our outline? Go to dnltv.com, or you can click the link at the top and then click on show info. If you guys ever forget where the show link or something, whether it's Spaces or Clubhouse, you can go to dnltv.com, domain name law tv.com, and then click show information. It's got a link there. It's our outline for today. Our outline for today, we got some various news stories and then four UDRP cases. And then I'll just tell that you have the domain names right now: caterpillar.com, euronet.com, resourcex.net, and then alpha finance, alpha.finance. Those are four cases we're going to go over. Uh, First, I wanted to touch on stories and some interesting stories that I really wanted to get you guys' take on because one's later on about an extension that's related to music, Jeff, and it's like what they're doing there. And then also on this judgment, but anyway, and I wanted to talk with David about this NamePros new buy it now lander because he's using unique landers. So we're going to start by looking at the outline. B1 is disposable domains. What are they and who uses them? It was a Domain Gang article, and I just wanted to say if anybody runs across the term disposable domains, to me that was always a name somebody buys for a temporary purpose, and like he mentioned in the article, and it can be for good use, but many times for nefarious use or to fish or something like that. But what is your description of disposable domains, David? Start with you, and then Jeff. What does that mean? That term, disposable domains?
Well, I thought they're just marketing domains. People use them for ad campaigns for a short period of time. but I didn't, ever think about phishing campaigns. And yeah, of course, that's a possibility.
I thought they were the tasters, is what they meant when they first said it. But Jeff, remember that when you can taste the domain, see how much parking and traffic, and then you just can get your money back. Is that different than a disposable domain?
Well, I mean, it's different than in this article. It seems different because I've never really heard that term. Obviously, yeah, domain tasting was a problem back in the mid, 2000s, 2010s, or no, it was actually 2003 to 2008. And then there was a policy that was passed to stop domain tasting, which basically said that if a registrar deletes more than 10% of the number of domains that it actually adds that month, um, then the registrar would be charged for any deletion um, during that 5 day period. So in other words, it wouldn't get the refund, and that stopped it completely because what was happening was the registrar was registering, or registrant even was registering 100,000 names at once and then deleting 99,500 of the names before the 5 day grace period to get a refund. And that was just considered, bad practice. And so this policy addressed it. But yeah, I mean, when I hear disposable domains now, I think of the spam phishing campaigns, right? They register these nonsensical names. They can try to delete it within the first 5 days to get a refund. But they're just testing the waters to see if to 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 cause some damage within a few days, and understanding that um, they're going to get caught at some point and lose that name, but the damage has already been done. And most of the time, they'll do that, however, with free domain names or close to free domains. And we'll get back into the subject sort of when we talk about .music.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. I don't want to get too off track, but I have some questions for you about, because how they address that nicely. You know what I mean? When they were trying to be nice, I'm thinking of the system ICANN or the registry, whoever was given, the refund, saying, we want to help out the customers if they registered something, and you want to help out those registrars so they don't get themselves in a situation, but then it gets abused, and then right, there's hundreds of thousands of registrations, so it's like you've hit your limit. We were trying to give you a little room to move in case you needed to uh, you know refund these, basically, you know uh, not follow through with the registration, but just gets abused. So there's been a lot of talk. This is sort of jumping to another subject, but I wonder if it's going to be addressed as nicely with the. There's been a lot of talk about the new G's, and I have a question about it. But my first two questions. First one, Jeff, am I understanding it correctly that if I apply for an extension, if I don't get it, there's no refund? So if there's just one other person that, for some reason, whatever, five of us apply for a name, if only one's going to get it and the rest are going to lose their application fee?
Not completely. So there are different stages when you can withdraw your application and get a partial refund. Um, the later you withdraw your application, the less you would get as a refund. But even at the end of the day, if you're not awarded the TLD, so you make it all the way to the ICANN auction and you lose the ICANN auction, you'll get maybe 20%. At least that's what it was to the last round back. So I think the refund schedule was something like if you withdrew your application after all the applications were revealed. So, like, you had an application for a string and you saw, oh crap, Google's got an application for the same one. There's no way I'm going to get it. If you wanted to withdraw it at that point, you'd get, I think, like 70% back. But, after that, then all the applications are evaluated. And so after it's evaluated and you pass your evaluation, um, if you don't want to proceed after that, you get like 50% or no, 40% back or something like that. So there is a refund schedule depending on when you um, withdraw your application.
Yeah, that's a pretty big deal for people because there's going to be Now I can see why some guys, I mean, are mentioning I'm going after this one, and they don't think it's going to hurt them by with competition. So I understand you need to really consider everything before you go in because you could right go to the end and you're like, geez, so I you know, I applied and I didn't get that, and that was 150,000, 180 grand if I lost 80% of it for not winning, and that could happen. Well, with regards to um, everyone believes ICANN is going to make the big change to make sure there's none of those auctions or private auctions. Have you gave it more, you sort of said what you think may happen. Have you give it more thought of how do you think they can address that in a reasonable way that'll work?
Yeah, I mean, there's different ways to conduct the auction, and one of the ways that would, at least theoretically, reduce gaming would be to require, um, before there's a reveal of who your competitors are, right? If you know if you know that there's contention and you have to solicit a bid right away without knowing who your competitors are, without being able to negotiate them, if you're required to submit a sealed bid prior to all that, then that will um, lessen the incentives to do any kind of private auction, because nobody will, because the bid's are already in. You can't change it. You can't work out solutions with other parties. So there are mechanisms that would reduce the gaming, but the board is still ICANN board still discussing different ways to do it.
Well, that's going to be a featured topic in a few weeks. There's so many companies now that are like, this. I mean, and I'm telling for the crowd and for the few that don't know, there's so many companies now that are consulting. Like, I'm going to help you get this, and here's why you need it. And some of them are, really getting involved. Meaning, I'm going to help you manage it afterwards and so on. But um, I um, I thought there would be now, a lot more. Now that I'm learning more about it and that refund schedule, yeah, I can see why you can't just, people aren't just going to go hog wild, especially when they don't know if they're going to be able to make it back like they did last year in those auctions. It was weird setup. I mean, last time. Okay, so this was an interesting story. It's B2 on our outline. .ai adds another 70,000 domains in less than 4 months. Okay, well, I was doing some math. It was wrong a little bit, but I was like, I wonder what um, Jeremiah, maybe he could put it in the chat if he thinks he knows. And that is, what is the wholesale price to the registrars for .ai? Because we know they're charging like $70 a year most of the places. I don't know. I looked at GoDaddy like $50 the first year, $59, but then the second year is $100 and some dollars. So I bring it up because over the quarter, um, they added 70,000 names. Anyway, I was doing the math and saying 70,000 times, $70 is 4.9 million. I figured just 4.5, divide that by 3 months is 1.5. That's 50,000 a day. So anyway, this registry is really, guys, let's just say he's making 40,000 a day after the wholesale, 30,000 a day. Now it's coming down to within reach. I could do that. Is a so he's I don't know if it's going to keep up, except it's really chugging on all cylinders right now with regards to 2 year registration. It's not a real low, you know, that I mean, no low wholesale cost. Um, well, let me ask you, Jeff, because you're sort of in that business. What would you guess is the wholesale cost for .ai, considering the cheapest place you can get is about $70, and you have to register for 2 years?
Nope, there you go. Sorry. Yeah, the if the cheapest is $70 at something like Namecheap, then generally it's probably around 50 or 60, because Namecheap doesn't have a huge markup. Pork bun is actually, if you really want, if they order it, they'll tell you. So if you go to David, I will in the meantime look up what the wholesale fee is.
David, are you investing at all in the .ai, and what do you know about them?
I don't know much. I just know that Spaceship was selling them for $65 a year, a 2-year minimum. But I don't know if all these registrations are actually paid registrations or not. there's no transparency. You look at the who is, there's not much information. So should we trust it?
Well, I know, and you're right. I'm wondering once if you were a small, a smaller operation, and you got wind that the the when you did have a good quarter, that press that you received from the domain space really seemed to boost, and he's getting a lot of requests for interviews, and so he's thinking anything to market this, you got to keep this stuff out there. I mean, and all the guys in the business, whether you're a broker or you're a registry or registrar, I agree. I mean, I think that, and that's why it is interesting this one of the stories we got coming up. This is a legal story, so I'm going to just go to that. AI is growing fast. All these things that we're going to keep revisiting because I just happened to see on DNW that uh, they had 70,000 registrations in a quarter, and they were looking okay. So it was pretty slow at the start. I remember a year 2018 to 2019, if I remember correctly, they had 13 to 14,000 the whole year. So, and this was not long ago, and now 70,000 in a quarter, and he's going, you guys got to do it for 2 years. I'm not going to share the who is, only you're going to know when your name's expiring, and other little things that you'll learn as you go. But so that's it, just an interesting story because boy, those are like the hottest aftermarket investments. Next to .com, they get the looks like they've been getting the highest prices, the .ai, and it's like a horse race .io, .xyz for the rest of the stuff. Man gets $486,000 judgment. Oh, wait, hold on. Jeff, did you find out more information on that last thing?
Yeah, I'm looking. It's yeah, it's probably about 70, 65, $70. So is the wholesale because Pork Bun's charging 71.40, and they usually only charge a dollar or a couple dollars over the wholesale. GoDaddy's charging $100, so that would make kind of sense if it was like 65, $70, something like that.
Jeez, I wonder if Right of the Dot's going to do anything directly with the AI registry. That was something I'm trying to get Jeff. Okay, anyway, man gets 486,000 judgment against Rob Monster and Epik over stolen domain. So I'll just say this was a DNW article, but quickly, last May, a California court ruled that this guy who got his domain stolen while at Epik when Rob was there, 486,000 bucks. How they came up exactly with that amount, I can't even remember. But the guy, uh, David, did you read this story? And can you sort of sum it up for people that why did this guy get a judgment against Rob Monster? And it was a personal judgment and Epik. I can see both for this amount.
Yeah, so the complainant, the guy who sued, he talked to Rob on the phone in 1999 and told him that there was his domain name rle.com was at Epic and that he wanted it back. And the Whois showed his name, but it was a fake person, and he's the real Robert Lee or whatever his name was, and that transfer the name back to him. And Rob said, "Yeah, I can do that. Just transfer all the other domains to Epic as a registrar, and we can have everything in one account." And like that's a fishy thing to say. Maybe he's trying to be helpful or trying to drum up business, but that was used against him. And so, anyways, I don't know when this lawsuit was filed, but the result is Rob did not defend it. He did not file a motion to dismiss based upon lack of personal jurisdiction. So, the court just issued a default judgment. The claim was for about $125,000 plus punitive damages, plus attorney's fees. And I guess it turned out to be like 486,000 at the end. I haven't seen all the court documents, but that's a good summary of it, I suppose.
Yeah, and you said 1999, but it was 2019. He had Rob on the
Yeah,
phone. Later
yeah,
that year is when he
2019.
filed.
Yes,
Right? Yeah,
yes.
he filed it later in 2019, saying, "Okay, now the guy's saying I had to transfer all my stuff there, and now I'm missing RLE.com. So I'm missing RLE. I registered this name. He has he registered it a long time ago. That was 1995. So that was the main one, and his name was Robert Lee. But so basically, if you're right, David was reading the story. Jeff, I don't know if you read it, but did you see? So Rob was like, no, and then he owed somebody some money. But I think Brent Oxley, he owed him something. He goes, I can sell you RLE or give you that. I mean, Wild stuff. What do you think of that story? And then how do you? I have some ideas, but how do you collect that judgment?
Well, I mean, it's you know, unlike not responding to UDRP, where the worst that could happen is you lose your name, and that's not great. But you don't respond to a lawsuit that has jurisdiction over you. Um, you get a judgment against you, and unfortunately, you get a judgment that's based on the facts alleged in the complaint as if it's true, because you didn't defend it. So, it's definitely enforceable, and um, I don't know where Rob Monster is now, or where he lives or anything. But yeah, it's completely enforceable, and um, it's kind of stupid that nobody responded. Um, but it's also a little bit weird because Epic, well, I guess Epic LLC now. It would be interesting to see if they've acquired all of the liabilities of Epic Inc. because they are a successor in interest. So I wonder if Epic LLC is on the hook for paying these damages if it was, and I don't know, I didn't read the judgment, so I don't know if it's joint and several liability, meaning that, if there are two defendants and it's joint and several liability, a complaint or a plaintiff can go after one of them. It doesn't have to go after both. It can go after one of them for the judgment, um, and each one is responsible for the full amount. So it's not like one of the defendants can, like, it's not like Epic Inc., who could have assigned, maybe it's assigned to Epic LLC, can say, well, I'm only going to pay half of it because I was only one of the defendants. Nope. If it's joint and several liability, they got to pay it all.
I Andrew actually had in his article, but I found it somewhere else as well where it says it came to this judgment came to light now because it was transferred to King County in Washington, where Monster lives. So that's the first thing you do if somebody doesn't live in, just if you're trying to collect a judgment, then you're going over to that court. Now you're going to try to find bank accounts, cars, anything that he owns in his name over there. I mean, if that's try to. It's hard to collect on judgments, but that's where I come in. Usually, it's like, okay, so now we can any help we can get to collect. So we need where's the stuff at, and then we'll work it backwards. They worked it forward. They got the judgment transferred there for that reason. So we'll see what happens next. Um, that anyway, just more reason to bring it up was that's about as legal somebody finally get a judgment. We wonder what happens sometimes. If we say people somebody should sue, that happened to me, I'd sue. That guy did. He got 486 for a 3-letter. Okay, changes coming to GoDaddy auctions. I put this in there, and also anyway, I mean, no one seems to care because no one seemed to use it. But it was like I wanted to keep it alive. Like, don't please resuscitate, and that is now GoDaddy's no longer allowing you to list your domain for an auction for 7 days. And even if you say starting bid $20, I can't do that a private auction. They call it a member listing anymore. Does that matter to you, David?
I'm actually glad that they're getting rid of them. I tried using it to sell some of my domains in the past. They never sold. Um, now they just muck up the whole environment of GoDaddy auctions. Like I'm looking for today's expired list. I don't want to buy a buy it now price on somebody's full price domain name. That's not why I'm there. I'm looking for bargains. So I'm glad it's going to be gone.
Good point. I mean, good point there. I mean, because there was no results. Jeff, did you ever know anything about that other than hearing complaints of GoDaddy expired auctions? People get the high prices. GoDaddy makes a fortune. You do it yourself as private, you don't get hardly any sales at all, and we just couldn't figure it out. Now they're just discontinuing it. You know anything?
Yeah, not something I've had experience with.
I was mentioning something the other day about when specifically when 1 year we're at ICA saying, "Hey, Paul, because these PPC landers are you say it years earlier, and I act like I was with you. You're saying these PPC landers. It'd be nice if there was some disclaimers on there, or just some clarity of, who's responsible and not responsible for this with regards to yourselves, the customers, and so on. And then the next year we see a disclaimer on there, but it's not the one you want. But the point was, you can actually, people are talking about organizations where you can, you know, speak your piece. That's like, hey, we know Paul heard you when you were talking about that and the importance of uh, making sure that a domain owner is not responsible for the links on a PPC lander that he didn't, a default lander. Um, why was I bringing that up? GoDaddy auctions. Well, that's going away. Um, they're offering a master class on expired domain auctions, seating limited. I think there's probably about 15 seats left. If you, I don't know, it's like May something. If you want to go to a show outline, click the link at the top and then press, show outline. So they're giving a master class on the expired domain. I can't imagine what it would be, but so I know the answer to Jeff is no, no domain, no GoDaddy expired auctions. But David, you do buy names. That's a main place where a lot of people get their stuff. Do you buy at GoDaddy expired?
Yeah. So I signed up an hour ago, and there's 8 spots
What'd you
left
do an hour
as of an
ago?
hour ago.
You bid on something in there?
Sorry. I signed up for the
Oh,
masterclass,
okay. See you
and
there.
there's 8 spots left.
Hey man, I
Yeah.
want to be like sitting next to you, making you laugh, and then you're like, David, they'll kick David out. David get kicked out. Okay, so changes coming. Okay, we're almost going to get to our cases. I'm just B5 as in bingo. Woo.com migrating back to WooCommerce. That's their own article that I listed on our outline. B5 WooCommerce. Okay, well, I have a few thoughts on this. Who cares? Any thoughts, David, on this? Like, it's pretty big, pretty big, I don't know, move back.
So I did some Google Trends analysis on this globally, and it seems that Wu is searched a lot. It's either a Hong Kong surname or the name of some attorney in South America that people are looking for. So it's just hard for WooCommerce to rank on Woo.com. So they went back to WooCommerce.com. And will they keep the domain? Sure, why not? It's good for authority and it's good for forwarding, maybe for email. But that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, it is a big different WooCommerce, but people, a lot of people weren't happy, and I mean, customers are like, you guys are like noobs to this whole thing. You're supposed to know what you're doing online, and that's more efficient. Make it work. What's going on? But did this even hit your radar, Jeff?
Um, Not for this particular company, but it does point out the difficulties people have in switching domains. Um, and that means within a TLD or to a new TLD, right? And so, being on the side of trying to get people to switch TLDs, it's a difficult undertaking, or it's a difficult thing to convince existing .com owners to switch over to a new TLD. But there are ways to do it, and I don't know what these guys actually tried, but I think it doesn't say in this article, obviously, because it's them that put it out, but there's got to be some mistakes that were made on their side when doing the transition because um, it's what they're not saying in this article that I'm highly suspect of.
Yeah, there was another article, and it did mention, and that's exactly what I thought. They made some, who knows how they transitioned or made this change. But when I think about it, it probably is as easy as David said about you're just going to imagine cold transport, and then they're trying to get the domain to, you need cold. And they see a story like this, and they're thinking, this is exactly what we thought would happen. Something ridiculous when we're known as cold transport. I mean, sometimes that extra word does differentiate, and then they're like, we got the dough, so yeah, we can own woo.com. But we didn't even think that the option even it was small, a lawyer there, a business there, people using the term woo there. It does. That's why people think, well, the terms cannabis and marijuana, no one uses that. Try search. No one uses the term pot or weed. Okay, you can't find anything searching pot. So when people are serious about stuff, they anyway, I was going to say sometimes it's the the full on, because a lot of people I was reading comments and they weren't happy with WooCommerce, like you guys messed this up. Some people did, but I'd like if it was a business, watching this, they're thinking, yeah, well, I'm not gonna. When you're a business owner and you're nervous about this type of thing happening, if you upgraded your domain, that's why I don't have any one word premium like that, but a lot of the guys that do, yeah, the reason why they haven't been bought yet, because a lot of the companies that are on Eagle Oxide or Eagle something, and they don't want Eagle because they're like, we don't want to run that little risk there. And then people are, there's no risk. Okay, well, what happened to Woo? And they're like, that won't happen to you. That happened to Woo. A million free .music domains up for grabs. This is Article B6. We got to move on. Well, I think I might get one. I'm in the music business. I've distributed music, and I got more distribution now than who wants to put out a record. I got something that can move. But my point is, what is this, Jeff? Free .music domains. What do you know about that? I mean, interesting because you operate .hip hop. So what is going with .music?
Well, I think they don't have a huge volume right now, and they're trying to increase their base. And it's interesting. It says free, but in order to have a .music address, um, you have to register through the community member organizations. Uh, I'm not 100% sure of what all those are. I guess you can find that on the website. And then you have to have your information validated, and that's like a $2 fee or something like that. So yeah, the name's for free for a year, but you still have to pay for validation, and you have to be a member of these community organizations. And so it's only for like another month. Um, so I'm not sure. We'll see. But again, like if we've talked about this before, it's one thing to get people in when it's free. It's another thing to get them to keep it when it's like, if it goes back up to 30 or whatever dollars they're charging for it. So yes, it likely will increase your base right away, but whether that lasts or whether you have to explain away a huge decline the next year remains to be seen. But new TLD, it's hard to run a new TLD. You got to try some different things. I would have said, like, had it not just been members that are validated or members of these organizations, I would have said, if you're just doing a giveaway for free without any of that, it's subject to complete abuse. And that's where the fishers and scammers come in. So I would never do that, but their added validation makes it a little bit safer, hopefully.
Giving as a registry, you could give an artist a name and it's renewed for 10 years. I mean, you could just pay it yourself. I could see if saying, hey, or this company, you build on it, you don't have to pay, would be, I mean, you don't want to do it, but I mean, if you're going to spend the money on marketing, if that worked, I can see, offering free names on an extension if, because something, like you mentioned the first two things. First of all, it's free, and then how much does that count? And then at least somebody signed up, and then now they pay that second year. All right, that's great. Is anybody going to build on them? Because as soon as somebody builds on stuff, boy, that really can turn around. I mean, I don't know. Coffee.club kept Club alive until Clubhouse started, and they just kept staying above water till they got out of it. I don't know. I say it like that when those guys are successful business people. And I'm talking about Colin and Jeff. Those, I mean, still just interesting with these extensions that sometimes, Jeff, I'm so um, like, whoa, I can see why people are going to spend $250,000 on an extension because you can do very little and make your money back. And if you got your shit together, you should be able to, make a little bit of money off of it. And who knows, there could be an aftermarket if you got a nice extension. And then I look back at the trail of skeletons, people that, operating and owning extensions. But I don't have much to say, but the music that, you know, I don't know. I mean, interesting. I bet it's really private, so you have to be in the music business to get a music domain. Any comments, Dave, on that article?
It wasn't clear what the renewal fees are. Are they free? Are they $199 a year? That's the question. If it's anything more than that, it's probably not going to renew.
The last,
But the idea is great because they have the community organization and maybe they can make money off the sales of merch through verified musicians. That's an angle.
I think of NFT communities are like 10,000 or less usually, but there's going to be, well, Jeff, what's going on right now with dot hip hop? I'm interested in what's happening there.
We're chugging along. um, we now have a promotion running where it's 50% off for the first year registration. Um, so we've seen some registrations through that. It's like I said, it's a tough business. It's not those that think the days of getting people to register names is that easy. Uh, I think they're delusional, right? So Dot Music right now has 286 registrations. Um, in fact, if you looked, so I'm going to tell you right now, NTLD stats is pretty good, right? So according to them, only 249 of the extensions have more than 10,000 names. So you have about 1,000 extensions that have less. Now, that also includes brands in there, but still, there's hundreds of generic TLDs that have under 10,000 names. It's a tough business.
Yeah, they seem so valuable, meaning like with the dot hip hop, with a lot of the guys that are Chuck D and his app doing some things, it's not going to be here's the one answer. It's going to be a combination of this app, these websites, this community here. So I still, look forward to talking to you a bit more about that because I mean I can see
Yeah, I
it's
mean, we
it's
have we
difficult,
have
but
some
yeah.
we have some things in the works, some apps and other stuff that we're working on. It takes a little time, but we'll get out there, and it's the functionality and the community we're trying to create that will make the difference. Not just like you said, you launch a TLD and expect people to be there.
Well, for dot hip hop, it's a blessing in disguise of, yeah, only the people that want to be part of something are part of it. And it's sort of like with the NFT stuff. People think they just came in, they were going to exploit it and make money. So you're really getting people that you understand what we're trying to accomplish here. If so, come on over. Um, Quickly, we got one last story, B7 on our outline before we get to our first case, Caterpillar. But it was, I thought, cool. NamePros has a buy now, or basically a parking page, a landing page that they are offering for free. Well, I've been a NamePros member forever. I don't go over there much, but it's a forum, namepros.com. But it's a cool landing page, and yeah, it's like, hey, here's a great one with all the stuff you need, cooler looking than most, and it's free. Congratulations. So I mean, I like that they did that, considering, that's it's fantastic from what I see. I haven't used it yet. David, you've been using your own, like changing landers these last year. Have you considered Etsy or FD or whatever that is? Did you ever consider NamePro's landing page?
Well, not until today. I looked up what their current features are, and the one feature I like is that you cannot see the price until you enter and verify your email address. So you enter your email address and then you click verify and you get an email back and you have to click on the link to make sure it's correct because it cuts down on spam. I get a lot of spam offers, and if they could all be verified first, that would be much better.
We were talking, I said, bingo. Yeah, that was one of the features I was going to bring up, that absolutely little things that can all happen. And they're like, we thought of it all. It's free. Why don't you put escrow.com on? They're telling you it gets safest. If you want to connect PayPal or some other stuff, you can do that too. But um, real simple, but I do like that people you want to know the price? We got the price. You don't have to wait. Just, check your email. The price is in there. And then they go there and it's like, okay, the price is in here. Click here. But yeah, I mean, I'm all about just independent landers, and I will say if GoDaddy's commission structure was the same that it used to be before they went to the 15 and 25, I would be using all my own landers. But because that slight, I don't know how much it helps, to go from 15 to 25% commission on the sale. See, so they did what they wanted with me. They did exactly. They're like, "You sure you want to sit over there? There's food over here." So yeah, that's a shifty one. Name Pros anyway. That's a forum that it's only is. I don't even know if it's bad anymore because people just got mad because it seemed like it was I don't know, crazy bully talking about what, I don't know, because I wasn't around during that whole time. But way back in the day, we just posted sales or somebody trying to sell their names, and we let them know you're not going to get anything here. We're buying good stuff for cheap. Okay, we'll go to case one. I don't, Jeff doesn't care about name pros. First case is Caterpillar, Caterpillar, caterpillar.com. That's the domain name. And this was the big company, that does the heavy equipment, Caterpillar here in the U.S. since 1904. I see. So they were filing a case against domain admin, no response. Jeff, I see it. I'm supposed to know, I guess, but they just put domain admin. What's that mean? No one, we couldn't find the person's name. Why does that end up being, you know, domain admin? How can that
because
even be?
that is the um, name that the registrant put in. So like you don't, it's not like there's a check. So they put in domain admin, um, and I guess when they did the check, that's all the information the registrar had as well.
Thank you. So anyway, this one, Caterpillar's going against this person. They didn't respond anyway, and it ended up being a transfer. Okay, so we gave it away. But this domain was registered in 2001, and there is a such thing as a caterpillar, and this guy could have just, it's like, what if you butterfly and you misspelled butterfly? But David, this case, it's a, the big company goes after the domain name because there's no response, and they just win it. Is it misspelling enough? I mean, what do you think should have happened here?
Well, when I first saw this decision, I was surprised because I thought the domain was correctly spelled. I'm not an entomologist, so I have no idea how to spell caterpillar. But anyway, there is a caterpillar. There are like 13 domains spelled this way. Um, and there is a company in Delaware incorporated with the name Caterpillar Silk, CATA, pillar. So, yeah, Jeff, what would have happened if the brand was actually a typo and the domain was actually correctly spelled dictionary word? Would the analysis be different?
So you're saying if the brand was Caterpillar, like this name, and
No, the brand was actually a typo. So that the brand is actually like caterpillar, and some people pronounce it caterpillar, but most people pronounce it caterpillar, thinking it's the insect. But well, most people don't know how to spell the insect word. But say the brand is what it is, but the domain name is what it is, and the correct spelling. So we're changing the dictionary spelling now. That the insect is actually spelled CATA pillar.
well, look, I think the problem in this whole case is that there's just no information because the respondent didn't reply, and there's no, first of all, look at who the panelist is, and she comes up a lot. She does a ton of default decisions, and almost every one of them are in favor of the trademark owner. She has so many of them that she spends and they're defaults, so she spends very little time actually doing an analysis. So, my whole problem with this case is that, basically all they're saying, all this panelist says is, look, this is a well known brand, um, and the respondent didn't reply, and therefore, um, you know, bad faith, right? Or is this, yes, sorry, yeah, right. So there's not much information that they say. It's just they think it's typo squatting, and it's typo squatting of the brand, but it could be typo squatting like you thought of the actual caterpillar. We just don't know because there's nothing in this decision to latch onto.
And
So
the
it's a
other thing I
bad
found out
decision.
is
It may be the right decision, maybe, I don't even know, but it's a bad decision because we can't even tell what other, yeah, I'm like looking in here. I guess there were pay-per-click links, but I didn't see that when I just went to it.
so the pay-per-click links were about the correctly spelled Caterpillar mark with Caterpillar diesel and Caterpillar parts. So yeah, those ads are infringing. But if you click on the links, the
Oh, I
third
see it.
party's targeting there. If you view source, you can see that there is a key code to block out infringing ads, but somehow the ad agency got around that through a third party and inserted the infringing ads.
These places, I mean, registrars can, let you register these names, and then you got to be worried about PPC links, and I just don't. That's just ridiculous. I mean,
Well, but
but
is
yeah,
this a registrar PPC
No,
link?
no, no, it's
You
not.
can't tell.
It's not.
It's not.
No.
Yeah. So I don't have as much of a problem with finding fault in this one because it's not up there by default. It's not what a registrar puts up there by default. So this person picked this ad agency and yeah, they're responsible for what's up on the site. So this is a case where I can see the pay-per-click problem.
and
So
when
sorry,
go ahead.
the ad agency is picked by the complainant. So the complainant hires ad agencies to target certain websites, to force ads on there, even though they have blocking records so that you cannot, so that say Caterpillar could not place ads on their own there.
The point I was making about the registrar is they allow the registration of, because this case they weren't involved in the PPC. That's the culprit here is the PPC company. They should be like, we can't put Caterpillar ads on any pages unless it's approved by Caterpillar. So we sit back unless Caterpillar says it. No, we won't put it, but they do it. So you're like, I didn't even ask for those. If they can show that you are requesting, please, I'd like for you to put up ads from this company, this complainant's mark, that's about as aggressive. Yeah, then you can get your ass in trouble. But I mean, when it comes to I own this word, what the parking company should do, they just lean everything right on you, the person. You got the name, bud, you all the clicks, but everybody's ready to feast right on you. Meaning, as soon as you just put with any parking company a name like Caterpillar, they're going to automatically put in all those infringing ads. And they're just going to assume that you got a partnership with Caterpillar, But the thing is, yeah. So you really, yeah, in the world, I guess, domain, you need to be responsible for. You registered it bad. They'll send it to you. It's bad drugs, though. Don't take it. You're not. There's nothing you can do with it. The only thing you can do is pour it out. Um, well, anyway, that was a transfer. Caterpillar, CATA. So it shouldn't have been a transfer. Yeah, the person should have sent back and said, um, if a company, like I said, is famous called Butterfly, they're famous Caterpillar because of the way their machines move around. These big machines move like a caterpillar. And so if somebody had a company called Butterfly and then you registered Boofer, changed the letter, now they're like, no, that's too close to that company. Well, that company went after, named themselves after, you know, popular insect, real popular around my parts. All right, so we said enough there. Next case, Euronet.com. Interesting, I guess, case, EURONET.com. This was registered November 16th, 1994. I just want to tell you, so yeah, that's a long time ago. People registered domains way back in the day. This company that was complaining about this domain name, Euronet.com, was Euronet Worldwide. It's a U.S. company out of Kansas, but they are payment processor, worldwide payment processor company out of Kansas. And anyway, they were going after this company in the Netherlands, Euronet Internet. But so this company out of Kansas, the payment processor, like everybody should know about us. Uh, we are, they were on EuronetWorldwide.com, which was brought up later by Zach that, when you're on Euronet Worldwide and then you rebranded to Euronet, they did in early 2023. Well, they, right there, just knowing that, I knew, okay, so they want that domain name, and then they come after it. It's that 30 years old. Um, I'm not going to give away the decision yet. It's not going to make anybody unhappy. But Jeff, what do you think about Euronet.com? This case being brought.
Well, I know you didn't give away what happened, but I mean, I think that's the most, that's the kind of interesting part of what I would discuss, which is you have a complainant here that did absolutely no real research into the history and ownership of this name. And it was doomed to begin with. And when you have a complainant that doesn't do that kind of research and just brings this case, the complainant's going to lose. And they did. And it's reverse domain name hijacking because, you could have easily told by just doing any kind of historical lookup or even on Google to know that the actual registrant here is legitimate and has been using it for a long period of time. And even if the registrant stopped using it and wants to sell it now, we've talked about this before. The it has to be both registered and used in bad faith, and it's clear it was registered in good faith and it was used for a while, and that's it, right? That's the end of the case. So you just have a complainant that really wanted the name that perhaps when it first filed it may not have known it was the same registrant, but once it found out, it really should have done some research and it would have seen it had no case.
David, what did you know from this case? There's some interesting stuff when they reached out to each other. What did you see here?
Well, the domain was listed for, sorry, that was the other one. This one was not listed for sale, but this particular, like there's so many different trademarks for Euronet out there. I did a white pill brand search and there's a lot of them. So how can this one company say, oh, we own the brand of .com? And this domain was registered when? It was like the 90s, 95. So
Yeah, it was
there
one of the
really is no
first
claim.
names. I think it was even earlier than that, wasn't it? Well, it was one of the first names.
Yeah,
Yeah.
94. David, this complainant emailed the respondent just this time last year, or in February of last year, saying, "I'm inquiring about buying this name." And the respondent said, "Yeah, it's money." It was I think it was the rep of the respondent, so it was like he contacted maybe a broker, and the broker said, "As a matter of fact, yeah, we're getting this baby ready to offer." And make an offer, and then he goes, "How about 25 to 30K? What do you think?" And they respond, "Oh, we're looking for a lot more than that," and then never responded to him again. Okay, so that and the domain doesn't resolve. So the complainant basically did. And Zach made a comment about this. Yeah, basically a big law firm. Whenever they rebranded the Euronet, and they were on Euronet worldwide, and they just wanted Euronet.com, and they filed a UDRP 30-year-old name. It doesn't even, so that's why, complaint denied, like Jeff said, plus RDNH. So it was a reverse domain name hijacking. Um, yeah, Dave, did you, the back and forth with regards to the numbers, you think they just basically that was it? Couldn't afford to get the name and just filed?
Well, it's obviously a plan B attack, so they didn't even mentioning that they try to buy the name is enough to make it a plan B and RDNH. So they shouldn't have mentioned that they were the ones making the inquiry. But other than that, there's just so many different rights holders for the term Euronet. There's no one company that can say they have global rights on it, even if their company is called Euronet Worldwide. So it's the right decision.
For those listening, that was a complaint denied with RDNH. Okay, we got two more cases, resourcex.net. And then if anybody, we're here on Clubhouse. We're going to get better in the future, meaning with the cases. Because David, you're right. At least on here, before we do the big thing, we need some excitement in here. Before we do the video, we'll go to Zoom with plus YouTube. That connection there. That's the smart way to do it. Is if we at least keep doing some quality stuff here on Clubhouse, we can get some snippets from these clips and post it on X if we want, um, in like these cases. But so resourcex.net, is a domain that was registered April 23rd, 2014. So keep that in mind. It was 10 years ago. This is a single member panelist. So Stephen Mayer, who we've heard of before, was going to be the one deciding this case. The complainant, Hans Schmutter, basically a big long name, Schmutter was mentioned twice in the title of the company, from Austria, versus Ross McIntosh right here in the U.S. Well, the complaint, I'll just give you a couple basics and you'll be satisfied. Complaint has a trademark since 2017 on resourcex.net. That's not their company name, but that's a product that they have. They do business as resourcex.net. I mean, resourcex, and they were coming after the .net here. The domain lander is hosting a page that just basically says, it's like a host that says, hey, you're a visitor, here's your IP address, and thanks for stopping by now that we know who you are. And they complained and said they made a lot of efforts to acquire the domain, but the response wanted 100,000. This was the one, through a GoDaddy broker. So the complainant said, "I'll pay up to $1,000, but I'm never, no way am I going to pay more than that." And there's a little bit more to it, but David, what do you pick it up from there? What did you think about this?
Well, it's a good decision, denial. But the key things are that the complaint is on the .NET version, and they just want to upgrade. And the person who received an offer from the GoDaddy broker saying, "Well, 100,000 is the minimum at this time." And I know GoDaddy brokers call anybody and everybody. You don't have to be a domain investor to actually, sell names. Before I started selling names, I was getting offers on some names from GoDaddy brokers. But yeah, the name is not really distinctive. Why would they say they have rights on it? I don't know. They're trademarks from 2018, 2017, but the domain is older than that, so there's no case.
Why did they want the .net? I mean, this was basically Jeff. The respondent said he never heard of the complainant, and the panelist said, "I agree, I believe you." And plus, you've had this name for quite a while anyway, not more than them. But is that what you saw here? They were going after the .net, though. Unusual.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was also interesting, right? Because this was another example of a complaint that was doomed to fail, but because the complainant was not represented, is this the one where it said because they're not represented by counsel, they're not? No. Yes, this is the one that says we're not going to find reverse domain name hijacking because they're not represented by counsel. So I found that kind of interesting, and I think that's right. I think it's, with people that aren't represented by counsel, you give them a little bit more leeway with a reverse domain name hijacking. But yeah, I mean, this is just, the
But it's
complaint.
because it was internally represented. So they had lawyers inside their company, but they did in this case. Yeah, there was a respondent that was he not answer? We can't even figure out. It doesn't matter. We've run out of time.
Yeah, no,
This.
he responded.
Yeah, he responded, but the point was this was Hans Schmutter and Partner Information Technology Company, and it said internally represented. So yeah, they didn't get a complaint denied, but it was lawyers going after. I mean, I don't have time to look back on that, but it was resourcex.com. Why didn't I have .net? They were on the .net. Thanks, David. You mentioned that. So this was resourcex.com. I must have seen it wrong on my, I think they may have had it wrong on the ICA thing on a mailer, and I copied it down wrong. Complaint denied. Resourcex.com was transferred. I'm sorry, was not transferred like this. Okay, we're going to go to the last case because we're having some issues. Number 4, alpha.finance. Okay, this was interesting because this was a .finance, and the uh, complainant was a Greek bank, Alpha Bank, versus a gentleman out of Poland. So this was a bank in Greece going after this domain name that was registered this time last year, 42823. So if you think of it, somebody bought alpha.finance, Alpha Bank is going after it because of, the I'll give you a hint. The respondent was asking 19,888, and the complainant said, they're trying to, exploit us, because we're the only one interested. What do you think, Dave? Do you have any comments on that?
Well, alpha is a dictionary term, and finance is associated with startups. So, like, it's a great domain name. Why can't it sell for $19,000? There's no evidence of targeting.
You know, as a panelist here, they thought no bad faith registration. Is that how you'd see that one, Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, the complainant tried to argue that they were worldwide famous. You have a complainant that's a Greek bank that's in a couple other countries, but not in Poland, where the respondent is. And the complainant didn't provide any kind of backup for its claim that it was famous even in countries that it wasn't located in. And so, um, yeah, and that combined with the fact that alpha is is a dictionary term. Now, if this were in .bank, right? So let's say where alpha.bank was the domain name, that would be different, right? But it's in .finance, and that's not the exact trademark. So this could have been an example where the TLD itself makes a difference in the outcome, um, but not here because the mark's not Alpha Finance, it's Alpha Bank.
And the other thing is, if you go to Google Trends, you can see what the worldwide search volume is for Alpha Bank. And you'll see that it's 1% in Russia, 1% in the United States, same in India, but like it's 100 in Greece and 7 in Romania. So they're by no means famous throughout Europe or any other countries. They're just big in Greece. And that's a key thing. Google Trends is a good indicator. And that's even present day. If you look back, say, back to 2004 or whenever the domain was registered, actually, it was registered more recently, but it's not really any different. Um, yeah, the results are the same. So that's how I would have shown that or refuted their claim of being worldwide famous. Like, no, they're not. Nobody searches for their name on Google. And of course, they're bank and not a finance. A lot of companies are in finance that have similar names to banks around the world.
At least there was a response from in those last two cases, and those were, good complaint denied. For those listening, the only transfer today, meaning where the domain owner lost their name, and sometimes you're the domain owner. If you're cyber squatting, we don't even use it. Cyber squatting's real obvious, and sometimes it could be anybody doing it. It's pretty obvious when it is, and that's what the UDRP was set up for. When it's obvious somebody's registered a name to make money off somebody else's mark or target them or just, got the drift. Well, today, CATAPILLAR.com, Caterpillar, was lost to the company Caterpillar because the guy didn't respond, and they had that name for over 20 years. So, I had the name Caterpillar. Just somebody had it for over 20 years, but the company been around since 1904 or something. So, um, you know, but anyway, just you see, that's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool name. I keep thinking of it like a misspelling of an insect, which that's all it is. I just didn't answer. And boy, the panelists. So those other cases, thank God, there was a reasonable defense there, and the person the panelists made some good decisions. Hey, before we shut down today, since we're back on Clubhouse, anybody have any questions for the lawyers? Anything? It's been a while. Anybody want to ask a question to either David or Jeff? We're shutting down here in a second. Okay, you know what? I wouldn't. One of the reasons we came back to Clubhouse. Everybody, please welcome to the stage, Lady Jane.
I am so happy. I can't believe it. I got to hear Jeff and all of you guys. I'm just Jeff and Todd and oh my God, David. It's so nice. It's so nice to hear you all together. I'm so glad you're back. Is this permanent or is this just for a minute?
Well, you just made it another one. If you do this each show, I'll just one more, one more,
Come
one
on,
more. So,
KW, come
so,
up.
so next week we'll be here, and then the only thing we would do would make it be more exciting, and that would be with video on YouTube and Zoom simulcast. But
Well,
anyway,
the thing is that every time, ever since the beginning, David was always popped out. It was always difficult. You didn't get the numbers. We didn't get to raise our hand to do a question if we had one. I could not figure out, unless coming on stage, what I had to do to be able to ask a question. I felt that it was just a losing opportunity for you because you already had gained such momentum on this platform. I know this platform's changed. I hate the changes, but at least we're family here and we still can get together and voice our opinions and ask questions. And for that reason, that's why I texted you a few weeks ago, are you thinking about going back to Clubhouse? Because I lost it. I just wasn't even interested anymore because it was so different and I was losing my interest in it. And I love all you guys. And I'm so glad you're going to NamesCon, even though I'm not. You're getting your stage. You guys, you're just awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Lady Jane. I mean, I appreciate it. I do. And I was going to say, here, what we'll do is maybe while we're here, I got to try to get done in 60 minutes. And then if people want to, gab for 15 or they have some things to say, we're just trying to get out of here in 75 because Jeff and David, that's their rules. But I like the whole idea of, we'll be consistent here. So you can count on us here. If we make any changes, it's only going to, we're just trying to add, this show's not going anywhere. So we got, there's cases all the time. And what we know we can tell you, it's just, and there's a lot of great news stories. I'm saying this show's not going anywhere. We're just trying to, fluff it up, make it a little bit more exciting. And plus, basically, later on, if we needed to go to any of the content, I mean, just us guys that are doing it, it should be easy to find or get to. So Dave was thinking about organizing that. But Lady Jane, thanks for,
One
thanks for
quick
being here.
thing. If you want to have some, like if you don't want us to interrupt or whatever, and you wanted to have questionnaires, you got enough people that have been willing to open up rooms, over on this platform, and then we can talk and visit and do all the things that we've done in the past on Clubhouse. But over there, we weren't even being able to hear David on a frequent basis. It was always such a struggle. And so I would opt into finding somebody that could hold something afterwards and that everybody knew you were going to go from here to go ahead and continue. That's just an idea.
Yeah, that would be anybody who wanted to do it. So my point is, it's like, hey, because I'm not going to say, oh no, that person did it. No, I don't recommend going to that. But I mean, I know what you mean. It's like it's an easy. Basically, these rooms for those of us talking, it is pretty fast. An hour. I was going to do show myself 23 minutes. I could do that. I can hold my breath that long. So my point is, it is short to do something hour and 15, but I thought it would be like we try to, then we do this more serious. If somebody said, we have a business show after this, or we're going to do, Jeff Falali does real estate shows. When we were on Spaces, yeah, I like that whole idea because then it helps us too to say, hey, be sure to tell your people come early sometime and listen to this other business stuff. But domain name law is pretty specific and it's pretty awesome because it is it is an important thing, and the UDRP. Anyway, it's interesting. So I like that it's so niche. But anyway, we're gonna keep it up. I don't know what I was gonna say. Yeah, we got plenty of cases, and we're gonna have some guests coming up. Jeff, before we shut down today, I want to say hi to Vahi, but I first want to ask Jeff. So Karen Bernstein became a panelist. So a lot of lawyers like that. What did you? I mean, did you see that or did you hear that, and did you know she was applying for that beforehand or anything?
I did, and I fully supported her. And yeah, so I think that's great. I think she'll make an excellent panelist for the forum, and um, I'm eagerly awaiting her first decision. I don't know if she's gotten a case yet, but hopefully we'll see her name soon.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. And I was just gonna say every time I cross paths with her, she's really nice. I really like her. She's really very nice to me, but also always contributes something. But then again, I was sitting at her guru table. But I mean, she's always like, hey, I like it like me. Yeah, that's funny. Now some business. Was we all just gonna sit here and laugh, or are we gonna talk about something important? So I really always impressed. But she's gonna be a guest here in a few weeks, and I just saw that news. Vahid, wonderful to have you up on stage, back on Clubhouse. What's up?
Oh, what's going on? Yeah, I agree with Lady J. So good to have everybody over here. Did you guys talk about Nissan going after Nissan.ai? Was that Was that
Now,
discussed
Jen,
today?
I
That's
just
what I
saw
saw
the
on Twitter.
headline, and I did want to dive into that next time. So, did either of you guys hear
Cool, cool.
that? Nissan.ai was, I think, targeted by the company.
I heard
Uh,
about it. I wonder who is the respondent. It's an interesting situation. Hopefully, it's maybe a family member of the Nissan family member.
Yeah, it's interesting that now they're coming in. I mean, they had that fiasco with Nissan, and then now they're coming after Nissan. I mean, I don't understand these Fortune 500. I mean, these are big, you know, billion-dollar companies, multi-billion. Like, why can't they just register all their names one time, or just go buy it and just be done with it? It just doesn't make sense to me that how they leave their shit out there, and then they come cry wolf over here, and they want to get their name after somebody else beats them to. Like, I don't understand. Just go to all extension, pay for it, do whatever, register it, or
yeah, it,
buy it and just be done.
it's expensive. It's I used to work at Cum Laude, which was a corporate registrar that worked with a lot of these companies, and um, look, you got to make choices as to which names you want to register in and which you don't. It becomes extremely expensive if you're going to register in every single TLD and renew those in every single TLD. Um, and I got to tell you also with AI, it's much more of a recent trend to register those names. I agree with you. They probably should have registered that one a little bit earlier, but you never know when a CCTLD is going to take off for a meaning completely unrelated. I'll give you the example .gg, which is now being used by gamers. I could tell you that most brands, and when I was working at Cum Laude up and through 2020, I would have told them never to register in .gg because there was no need. So um, I hear what
I
you're
mean, a lot of
saying.
these extensions are like 10, 20, 30, $50. I mean, we're talking about Nissan. We're not talking about mom and pop business. Like another extra 50,000 a year. I don't see how that. I mean, I don't even think if you register all extensions will cost 50 grand. You know,
Oh,
but
well, yeah, sure, will easily, right? And you got to renew them every year, and you got to get different. You know, it's not just your house mark; it's all of them.
Yeah,
And
in a
there's
registry, Jeff, sorry to jump in, but a registry, if they wanted, they could go, oh, Nissan has that one, huh? We'll raise it to 5,000 this coming year, just that one. But also, this Nissan.ai may be owned by the gentleman that made, the registry over there, because he's kept back a lot of them. So I'm sure he's going to see some UDRPs, coming ahead. But about companies, you're right. The company shouldn't cry about it now, Vahid. But back then, you can't get every CCTLD because that's what that one was. So you're like, geez, is that going to be? But we got to get ME. ME sounds cool. Me. So they're
But
not going to
but
just get.
most of them,
Yeah.
when I go to Namecheap, and then when I look at all these extensions, they're like $8, $10, $15, $30, $14. So I don't know if they all will add up to like 5 grand. But yeah, there are some extensions that are more expensive, like dot Inc. I think is like 2,500. That I understand, but I was like, okay, 10, 15, 20, 30, 50,000 for a big company like that. They're probably spending more money in attorneys the first
yeah.
UDRP.
Yeah, no, I mean I was thinking that when you were talking about the attorney. Now, I want to ask the two lawyers before we shut down here. All this new stuff, this block stuff, where you're paying a few $100 and they're going to take down all these other extensions for you if it's part of the network. See, Vahi was making a case that it's can be worthwhile, and he almost got me convinced because we're going to save on some lawyer fees. But I don't like the whole thing. I don't like all this defensive stuff. You're trying to buy a car, you got to buy every parking space around you. I don't like it. But what do you think of these blocking services? Are they really just out to make money off of these mark holders? And who cares, because we're not on the side of the mark. But I think they're sort of leechy. That's how I feel. What do you guys think?
I think that all new GTLDs are leaching, but that's a different story. Um, they can just blocking like it should be okay only if, with words like Kodak and stuff like that, but never for a dictionary term or a surname. They should never be able to block anything that's in common use. because that just blocks everybody else from accessing a name that they should have access to.
And
What do you think,
therein
Jeff?
lies the debate, right? So Vahid says, why don't you just register and everything? And David says, well, why should it be blocked and everything? Um, and there are substantial costs. I do think blocking services make sense for some of the brands because, why do you to register it in every name? It's not only that you have to get the block, but you have to or it's not only you have to register, you have to pay for it every year. It just becomes a nuisance, and it's a lot of cost that you didn't ask for. Now, I obviously differ with David's assertion that all new TLDs are leeches, um, but that's a completely different debate.
We're
You know,
closing
the
it down.
real the real thing is though, with the way the internet works, is that new Gs rarely get type in traffic. Most of the type in traffic comes in on .coms. And just because you have a domain name, like the biggest fallacy in every UDRP decision ordering a transfer I've ever read that mentions, oh, the person registered this name to siphon traffic away from the complainant. That's not true. Unless the page is fully SEO'd and you got content on there, it's never going to get more than one or two odd visitors, and those are usually robots. It's really crickets. So basically, yeah, I can see why they want to go after the .coms, but don't adopt a brand where the .com's not available or you can't afford it. And that would solve all the problems. We're no longer in 1995. We're like
Or
20.
or just register another TLD and let the com do whatever the hell it wants to do. Because
Yeah,
the reality is there's less and less type in traffic even for .com these days. Almost everyone goes to Google, types in the brand or types in the search and goes from there. So even com's not having a great amount of type in traffic.
Just in the last 6 months, WooCommerce updated their uh, control panel. So now I see on my sites, my e-commerce sites, this came from. They know my brand. It's my store. They're existing customers. Their 1900th order, and come to Google still. They'll still search the. Hey, I'm going to the website. What stuff? Let me put it in here. They'll still do it to go through. So you're absolutely right there. And it's like to me, I like to see the flat out numbers. Now it's like, okay, they're just not coming direct, even though direct is so easy and they already know it sometimes. So they're like, we're not going to give examples right now. It's all about weed. All right, that was a great show. I appreciate everybody being here. Two announcements. Tomorrow on Spaces, we used to do a show, AI Domains in Web3. We're on show 66, I believe, and we're not quitting. It's likely going to be I know we're throwing around some noon West Coast times for Friday, but we're going to wait till next week after the in era if it was going to be when I say this was a pop up, maybe 9 West Coast time, noon Eastern, after the whatever it's called, the halving. But anyway, you'll know any pop up times for that show off of my Twitter, Paul's Twitter, Chad's Twitter. But so that show is not Wednesday afternoon. Arif's doing a show tomorrow on Spaces, the Domain Social, and sort of a special time, Wednesday, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. Um, so that's on Space. That's awesome. So now we got that on Wednesdays, and everybody can check out, how we do it, on the Domain Social on Fridays. A little bit on Spaces this time rather than Zoom. And then Jeff, Talking Domains, Thursday, right here on Clubhouse, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. I get an optional show up. This Thursday, I really can't. So I'll talk to him privately. But anyway, it's optional for me to show up. If I can make it, I can. That's what he's doing. Season 4 is show number 3, Thursday, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, right here on Clubhouse. Hope everybody has a great rest of the afternoon. Thanks, guys, for a good show. Okay, so I'm back to Clubhouse, and guess what? I left quietly. So everybody, you saw exactly. It's funny. Exactly what you wanted. Now I'm going to end room. You'll never get me to do that twice.